The Pomodoro Timer is a really great tool that helps boost your productivity and focus. It involves using a timer to break down your tasks into intervals of focused work with intermittent breaks. This can be really beneficial in helping you achieve your work and study goals. You can access the Pomodoro Timer online, and you can also download the application. This video demo will be showing you how to use the Pomodoro Timer on the website. If you search pomofocus.io on your search engine, you'll be able to easily find the website shown here. Below the timer itself, you'll find information on what PomoFocus is, the technique, how to use the timer, a description of the basic features as well as premium features available, and here you'll be able to download the application if you would like. There's a lot of functionality that you can get out of the website alone, so I'm going to go ahead and show you how to use it. By default, the length of Pomodoros or intervals is 25 minutes, meaning one Pomodoro is 25 minutes. So the first thing that you do is add your tasks for the day right here. So for example, as you add your tasks, you can estimate the number of Pomodoros or work intervals for each task based on how much time you want to dedicate to that task. So again, one Pomodoro in the default case is 25 minutes. So if, for example, I need about 2 hours to update the data tables for this project, that would be 4 Pomodoros to make 2 hours. And then you save each task. And you see that as you add in your tasks, it provides a time for when you will complete all the tasks that you've listed, as well as how many hours that will take. So this is really helpful because if, for example, you have a cutoff time that you need to get work done, or maybe you finish work at 5, listing out your tasks for the day and looking at the time will really help you see how much work you can actually get done realistically within the time frame that you have. I recommend also schedule things that you may not typically think about as productivity tasks. So, for example, lunch, right? Because this is really helpful because, again, it shows you what time you'll be done all your tasks. That way, you have a more realistic idea of what you can actually accomplish in a given day. Another thing that's really helpful, instead of just listing out every task you have for the day, I find it's very helpful to break down your tasks. So for example, this task that's 2 hours, update data tables for EO project, instead I could change that and maybe have something like, so now I've broken down that 4-hour task into a 25-minute focus work, another 25 minutes, and an hour. This is really helpful so you can easily break down what's involved in maybe a big task or a big project that you're working on. And this helps you see if maybe, for example, you're underestimating how much time it will take you to complete a task. So now I can see it's probably going to take me more than 25 minutes to brainstorm the updates to my data assessment. So I can add to that, and then I can then see what time I will be done my tasks. You can also move around your tasks. So for example, I can calculate what time I will be done with the revisions and decide, okay, maybe I want to have lunch a little bit later, which is really cool. I also recommend adding a buffer time to your tasks in case you've kind of underestimated how much time a task or an activity is going to take. And this really just helps you avoid frustration, to be very honest. If you have a buffer, that way it's fine if you spend a bit more time on a task than you initially expected. So when you're ready, click a task and go ahead and click start, and the timer will start counting down. You'll usually hear a ringer after the working interval is up, and you'll be able to start your break. If you finish your task early, you can always skip to your break if you would like. And same thing, if you're on a break and you don't really need a break, you can always skip your break and go back to the next task. During your break, you might choose to respond to an email, take a stretch, or if you have a long break, you might choose to take a short walk. There's lots of resources about how to effectively use your breaks to maintain your productivity level and motivation as you're working. So as you finish each task, you can go ahead and mark it and you'll see that it moves to the bottom of the list, which is really helpful so you can just easily see what you still have left to do. So that's all you need to get started with Pomodoro. And now I can show you how to make some customizations. So if you click settings here on the top right, you see that you can set the time for your intervals. Traditionally, it's 25 minutes, which I think is a sweet spot, especially because you can skip your breaks if you're in the zone. But if you would like to increase how much time your interval is, you can go ahead and do that, or you can just type the number. You can also decrease it if you would like to have shorter intervals, especially if maybe you're struggling with motivation and you need those shorter intervals. You can also decide how long you want your short break to be and your long break. You can choose to auto start your breaks or your focus modes. I like to click those for myself just in case I've underestimated how much time a task will take me. That way I can monitor what task I'm on. So with Pomodoro, you have a long breaks as well as short breaks, and you can choose the intervals for your long breaks. So with a 25-minute Pomodoro, an interval of 4 for your long break essentially means that you'll be taking a long break roughly after every 2 hours. So auto check tasks here lets you automatically check that a task is done once the amount of Pomodoros that you set for that task has been completed. I like to leave this off because sometimes we don't do estimations really well. So it's nice to manually check that you've completed a task. An auto switch task just means that once a task is completed, it goes down to the bottom. Finally, you can set a sound for your alarm for when the countdown is done. You can also change the color themes as well as add in any notifications you would like. In summary, Pomodoro is a great productivity tool that helps you stay organized with your work. I find that it's especially helpful with focusing and avoiding distractions. And if you're the kind of person who's really great at getting in the zone and going nonstop with work, the scheduled breaks are also really helpful because they remind you to pause every now and then and avoid burnout.